Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Danny Grieves Show. This is Scott Kerker, along with Metamore head coach Danny Grieves.
Hello.
And before we get going too far, I want to thank Jake and Sarah here at the Grill for sponsoring and hosting the Danny Grieves Show, and I really appreciate that. And
Tonight, all the walleye you could eat,
all the
walleye, fantastic.
It was. We had that too. It was great. Again, you know, it's a great thing for them to allow us to film the show here. And again, thank you very much, Coach. Got off to a 2-2 start over at the Tournament of Champions in Washington. Tremendous.
Deja vu all over again.
Exactly. It was a very, very simple. 1-1, lost one, 1-1, lost one.
Yeah.
But the level of competition, I thought, was unbelievable.
It was really good.
And, you know, when you look at your team, and we talked about it last week about how, you know, you could go over there and play some really good games and lose.
Right.
But I thought it did a nice job of humbling us and got your kids probably a little bit more hungry coming up for the conference that starts this next week when you kick off the
Well,
season.
I thought our kids were ready, but, you know, we had to come over a little bit of adversity. Unfortunately, second game out, you know, we missed Matthew.
Rolled his ankle.
And he's a big part of what we do, obviously. And so that hurt us. But it gives everybody else an opportunity to step up, and it's next man up. Mm-hmm. And the long run, long term, we're going to be better for it. But the growing pains without him were pretty rough at times.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you kind of thought something like that would happen when we talked last week about.
Well, what I told them is they better be prepared for it because the season's going to bring stuff like that, especially in the conference, but the out of conference schedule we have is brutal.
It's brutal. Yeah.
And you know, our kids are going to be tested a lot all year long, so they better be ready.
Yeah, and I thought they were tested right off the bat. Notre Dame came in a very good team. I thought Owen Dillon, or is it Ian Dillon?
Yeah.
Ian Dillon going to Belmont was outstanding. Got to, you know, probably a little extra incentive against his old teammate, Cooper
No doubt.
Touch.
Right.
But I thought
Excellent shooter.
outstanding shooter. I think Belmont's getting a diamond in the rough.
But if I could take as many shots as he did, I think I might score a few points too.
Yeah, he did take a lot of shots.
He had to ice that arm down afterwards.
I'm sure he did.
But he's a good player.
He's a really good player, and you know, that was a good opening opponent for Metamora. They were very, very good, and you came out and took care of business. You got up to a running clock. I think it was a 32-point lead at one point, and we had the running clock. You were able to sub some kids, and they got it a little bit closer, but you still had a 19-point win.
Right.
And I thought that was you had a lot of pluses in that game. Matthew Zobers played very well, kind of gave you that boost in the first half that got you rolling.
Cooper Koch came in and did a nice job for his first outing. We had a new point guard for the first time in 3 years.
Yep.
And I thought Tyler Mason did a great job.
Yep, I thought so too. I thought that all your guys, you know, shined at points. You know, Ashton, your grandson, I thought he played. He had some really nice moments in that game. I thought
As did Luke Hopp.
And I was just going to mention him. I thought Luke Hopp really came on and did some nice things. He's looking to score a little bit more this year, and
Did a nice job of handling the ball, and you know, against pressure and getting to the right guy at the right time.
I thought in that Notre Dame game he might have had a double-double, rebounds and points. He had quite a few rebounds, and he had. I don't have the exact stats, but I'm pretty sure he had a double-double.
Right.
And I thought some of the guys you brought in off the bench did a nice job. I thought
Colin Ramage did a nice job.
Ramage did a nice job.
Kendrick did well.
Kendrick Shaffron did an outstanding job.
Thought he had a good tournament.
Yeah, he had a very good tournament. And I thought Nick Walker at times looked very good too.
He sure did.
And then the next game you played on Wednesday, you played a very good, I believe it was down in Florida. Mm-hmm. They were outstanding.
They weren't state champs last year, but they're odds-on favorite to be state champs this year.
Yeah, and they came out and they could not miss. I believe they have a player going to Florida International.
Yes.
And he was outstanding.
He's a good player. He'll be as good as guard as we'll see all year long.
Yeah, he was awfully athletic, big, strong. Yeah. He was a matchup nightmare.
It goes though. That was the best they shot the whole week. Yeah. That was the hardest they played the whole week.
Yep.
And you know that's the kind of efforts we're just going to have to get used to coming at us.
Sure. I think they shot 71% in that first half from the field.
But we got outscored 32-12 in the second quarter.
Yeah.
And outscored them from there on out. But you can't dig yourself that big a hole and expect to come over, somebody that's as good as they are.
Right. And, but that was a learning experience.
Yeah.
I thought your second half, you guys did a much better job finding the open hit, players. Your defense, your help side defense is getting a little better.
Yeah.
The other thing too, I noticed is that with the help side defense still lacking behind one of your trademarks, we didn't get. I don't think we should have gotten them. We should have gotten a couple of charges, picked up a couple of charges. We didn't get a couple of them, and some of them.
Well, the emphasis this year, especially in college, is they're trying to get away from charges, and they're calling everything blocks.
Yeah.
They're trying to use the rule of verticality and make sure everybody goes straight up. But as we find out, they're trying to do the same thing, evidently, at the high school level. We don't have a horseshoe on how far you can or can't beat from the rim. And so they still put that in the equation, and it's not even a rule.
Right.
And so there's some things that they need to work on, but obviously we need to work on it too, because if they're not going to call that, we can't do it. Seems like everyone we tried was not good enough.
Right. And I thought there were some textbook charges that were not called. And you're right, we're just going to have to adjust.
So my question to them is, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do when a guy comes at the basket that hard, that strong? We're supposed to just get out of the way? I mean, I don't know what to do anymore. It used to be stay there and take a charge, be a man. Mm-hmm. Then it was like, okay, just wall up. But now neither one of them works. So, evidently just lay on the ground and act like a dead fish. I don't know what we'll do.
Yeah, and that's going to be a tough one because every reffing crew is probably going to be a little bit different on that. And it could be drastically different from crew to crew.
If we can get some consistency, I'd love to see it. We have the ability to go after the game and break down the film and watch, the film and slow it down. Was it a good call? Was it a bad call? There was a lot of tough calls. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. But I thought that game you finished stronger than you started probably. Right. And that was the plus. And it sets you up pretty well for the next day when you played Gray Academy from South Carolina. Right. Another, I believe, two-time defending state champion?
Just one.
Just one?
One.
Well, we just have one, too. But they were another very good athletic team. I believe they have a kid going to Georgia Southern, don't they?
Yes.
And it was number 21. I believe his last name was Thomas. He was a very good, big, strong player. A little bit of a nightmare. I thought something you did that you made the adjustment. You went to a zone, and that really caused them some problems.
You know what? In transition against man and even half-court man, they have a fire in their belly about dribble drive and set some high ball screens, and they get great movement, and they just look very comfortable. Mm-hmm. And so we switched up second half and went to a zone. Didn't want to do it the first half. I didn't want to make any kind of adjustments, but it was the difference in the ball game.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not great at it. We were just okay at it.
You looked awfully good the other night, though, man. I thought, because to me, a zone is a tough thing to learn, and
we don't play it much.
We don't play it much. It's tough to block out. It's tough to get rebounds because you're kind of out of position to get to check out the offensive team, and it's a little bit tough. I thought your kids did a really good job. You only were down one at halftime, I think 34-33. Mm-hmm. You end up winning 59-57.
Beat them as bad as we could.
Beat them as bad as just about. You had that. You had that little bit of a cushion. You had a 2-point lead, but in that game,
it's the only time that we led during the whole game. So pick the right time.
I thought. Luke Hopp, who's looking to score a lot more this year than he has.
Yes.
He didn't have to last year, but this year he's looking to score a lot more. Had a real nice move. I believe it was the go-ahead bucket.
Yes.
And then he came down and gave you a really nice block at the other end.
He had 3 plays in a row that were that totally impacted success.
Yes, yeah, I thought I thought Tyler Mason did a really nice job of getting him the ball in a position to make a nice move.
He sure did.
And, that can be as important as the bucket itself.
Right.
The other thing that I thought was really nice was in that game, Kedrick Shaffron gave you a big spark off the bench. I
2
believe
for 2 from the line, 2 for 2 from the field.
6 points,
He had some major rebounds.
7-8 rebounds.
Yeah, it was
and
good.
at the end,
His greatest game as a basketball player in his life.
yeah, I think so too.
There's no doubt.
You think so? And it was nothing that he did spectacular. It was just that he was able to make some plays.
It was part of the grind and made nice plays.
I don't know if I believe it was him at the end of the game when they had 5 seconds to go to tie it. They inbounded to Thomas from their number 21, and he dribbled to his left into the middle of the court, and Kedrick Shaffron came out on a hedge and forced him to kind of like turn back away, and then he didn't even get his shot off. He got blocked. I believe it was that
Luke
Hop
walling up.
But I thought Kedrick Shaffron did a nice job of stopping him from going even further into the middle of the court.
Nice job.
Yeah, and that was a really nice win, a huge win for you guys. Very similar to the Booker T. Washington game last year.
Yes, sure was.
And
they were good.
They
made it to the state championship game down in Texas.
Yes, they were good too. And this team will probably be in the state championship game in Florida this year. So that was a very good game. Then you played on Saturday. You played. No, it was that was Friday that you played Gray Academy. On Saturday, you played Dale.
2-time defending state champ, Dale.
From Oklahoma. Player there, Forsyth is his name. I believe going to Oklahoma.
He's a senior, and then had a little brother that's a sophomore that was pretty good, number 3.
They played hard-nosed basketball.
They do a good job of trying to disrupt what you do. On the defensive side, they're always in your bubble, always putting pressure on you, always reaching, active hands. They're an overachieving team, but they've been in a tremendous amount of big games. They had a 43-game win streak when they got here, which is kind of cool. We had 33 between us in that game. That's a 76-game winning streak between the two of us, and both got beat the same week.
It's
so it was good competition.
That's pretty. 76 games. Oof, that's a lot of basketball.
Yeah, it is.
To come in. So yeah, that was it was an overtime loss to them. But again,
69-65.
And I believe that was those games set you up so well down the road. I think true. Because you could have gone to another tournament and came away with 4 easy wins.
Right.
That doesn't get you ready for the Mid-Illini and get you better for what you want to do later on.
3 of those teams that we saw in the tournament were probably as good as 3 teams we'll see all year long.
Oh, yeah.
Right out of the gate, it's a real tester. It tests your endurance, your teamwork, your cohesiveness, your togetherness, everything.
Yeah.
And it can really humble you. And that's when we were a guy down with Matthew. I just said it could happen. I told him that 2 weeks prior and a week prior. We're ankle away, knee away, concussion away. You never know what it might be. The next guy has got to be ready to step up.
Right.
It happened immediately, and when you have those kind of games, they're going to bring out your deficiencies immediately, and so it was good to see. So now we know what to work on. Yeah,
it definitely humbled you a little bit, and there were 3 things I took away from last weekend. One is you talked about this team wasn't quite there yet, not as far along as last year.
And I had mentioned that we were overrated for this early in the season. Like I told folks, you better get us early because we're going to be a little bit better, if not a lot better, late. And it takes a while to gel a little bit. This is a total different team from chemistry, especially.
Yes,
we still have some of the parts, but we don't have what we had.
Yeah, because you don't have that experience yet.
No. Somebody also said, well, you got a higher ceiling. We may, and we might not.
You don't know.
We'll see how we fill the best defender spot and the point guard spot. And right now it's kind of by committee, between Tyler and Matthew and Ashton at times. And what if one of those guys go down again and it's Ashton or it's Nick or it's Colin or, so they've got to be ready at any second. It's just next man up.
Right. And you that's why, you got to keep grinding. You got to keep playing hard. The other thing that caught my eye was how hard Cooper Koch plays. I think all your players play hard, but for whatever reason, I didn't know how he would be. He's already signed with.
In any team, when you can get your best player or players to play harder than everybody, but it doesn't just happen in the game. He plays harder than anybody in practice, and it just carries over.
That was that caught my eye. He played his butt off that this whole turn. So did your whole team.
Sure did.
You have no.
We've got to do a better job of kind of settling in our roles, know what our roles are, and being a star in those roles. But with new people, we still don't have. We got 20% of our offense in. So when our margin of error is small anyway. Throughout my career in 13 years, you got to have guys that you run your stuff and it's really sharp. It's a polished sharp, and we're not there yet. So it's kind of nice that Coop's such a great player that we can get away with some of that. But when you really need to say, this is what I need right now, and we can't get there, but we'll get there.
We'll get there. Between he and
but that's who we are.
Yeah, and that'll come.
Yes,
that'll come. Those guys are good enough that aspect of the game, I'm sure, will start to come together for you. And the third thing is, man, your kids do play like champions. They play hard.
Play hard and expect to win.
They do. They could have folded up the tent against Victory down
Christian. We were down 27 and they had the ball. We got it to 12 with the ball, and then kept shooting ourselves in the foot. Mm-hmm. Couldn't get a play, had a turnover. All of a sudden, it goes back to 15, and then it's 17. Mm-hmm. And if we could have gotten single digits, we could have seen what could have happened.
Yeah, the momentum definitely would have been on your side. So if you got those three things, I think those two things, you'll never have long spells of inconsistent play when you hustle.
Nope.
But
we gave up too many points in the Victory Christian game. Our defense, and I said all along, our ability to fill those spots, but defense wins championships, and we don't know where we're at because we still don't have a stopper on their best guard. And in high school, guards run the show.
Right.
That. If you're going to win something, you're going to have guards.
You're going to have some guards. Guards dictate the tempo of the game. And,
we never missed Tucker more than we did in that tournament because of his, not only his point guard ability, but that defensive genius that he had as far as, he could guard anybody.
And he was Drew Tucker, though, to me, he was that hard-nosed guy that you kind of dream about having as your point guard, and he was strong, he was fast, and he didn't take anything from anybody.
He did not.
And we'll find out if you've got that, and I think you do. I think
we do. We just you can't cheat the process, and you got to go through it, and then you got to live through that and use that to build your confidence. And we did that a little at a time, and when you can start Tucker as a sophomore to do that, he was much better as a junior, but wasn't strong enough in that championship game. Uh-huh. And he was having none of that his senior year. No. What a beast.
He was a beast, and he was fun to watch. And then all those other guys filled in, and that's what it's going to take, though. You went 2-2 last year.
Yeah.
You went 2-2 again this year. Right. I'm not so sure the teams that played this year might not have been better.
Winter Haven was really good. That might be the best team we've played since I've been here.
But
because they were really good.
They were really good.
Even better than teams this year. They were really good.
But I thought the other three teams, your four teams this year collectively.
Other than the team out of Houston, Booker T, the other two games weren't as tough.
Right. And you but I love it. You didn't back down. You've never backed down from anybody. And that's the thing that I like the most is that, bring them on.
Try to instill an idea that, we'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime. And that's kind of what we've taken. The 17 games that we have out of the 14 Mid-Illini games is treacherous. I'll put it against anybody in this state. I guarantee we got the best schedule.
Because you play some of those teams.
We play 5 top 100 teams in the country.
That's just crazy. That's crazy.
Yep.
And you know, and you know, some of those games, most of them are going to be on the road, but they'll be televised.
Right.
And you do have, you know, some of them that were close that people got to go watch. I think everybody realizes just how good a schedule you've got, and a 2-2 record is nothing to be ashamed of.
Nope. But we won't get much respect out of Chicago with the 2 losses, which is fine, because I like to have a little chip on our shoulder sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes that helps.
Yeah.
Why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about your upcoming conference season that starts next Tuesday against Washington, and then followed up with a road trip over to Morton.
Yeah.
Central Illinois, you asked for it and we listened. Germantown Grill is growing to meet customer demand, adding more dining space and a private gaming area featuring games powered by Gold Rush, the gold standard in video gaming. And Germantown Grill still has all the food and spirits that keep our customers coming back. Stop by to check out our daily specials. The game's on at Germantown Grill, where Central Illinois loves to eat. Open 7 days a week, just off Route 116.
Welcome back to the Danny Grieves Show, Coach. You come back after a 9-day layoff.
Yeah.
And you're going to get to play 2 of the better teams in the Mid-Atlantic Conference. You're home next Tuesday night against Washington. Be a nice, first home game since your state championship, and it's going to be a really nice night.
Be a packed house.
Be a packed house.
Get there early.
Get there. You may have to fight some kids for a parking spot, but get there. You're right. Get there early because it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah.
Washington.
They're not bad.
They're not bad at all.
They're going to bring it. And I told our kids today, I said, and our coaching staff, they're going to try. They would give their left foot if they could beat us, especially since our home opener after we won a state championship. To me, this is probably their biggest game since they got 4th place in the state. That's how bad they're going to want this win.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee it.
Yes, they're going to want it. And you smoked them twice last year, so they want revenge.
Yep.
So and
we won't run the clock in the 3rd quarter like they did us.
You still beat them by 37.
We did.
But you're right. That's going to be a big game, and your kids are going to be hungry. Their last game didn't leave a very good taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
So your kids are going to want to come out and prove that was just a fluke, and they've gotten better, and I'm sure they have. So I'm really looking forward to that game next Tuesday night at our place.
Should be fun.
And then you hit the road and you go over to another Mid-Atlantic school, another place that's very tough to play, the Powder Box in Morton. You play the Powder.
Because it's not even a dome.
It's a box. But we talk about that every time we play them. But they have a new coach, Abe Zeller.
So I wonder if they're still doing the curtains on the end.
We kind of put the kibosh to that a few years ago. Abe had a nice run of it at Roanoke Benson, and now he's moved over to Morton. And
he's a good coach. He'll do a good job.
He's a good coach. And they don't have a great team, but they play hard, and they're
solid. They'll always be solid.
And they play hard.
They've got a little bit of everything. They got a little size. They got inside scores. They got a couple guys that can shoot the lights out. They got a nice little point guard. I mean, they've got good pieces of the puzzle, especially for the Mid-Atlantic. Sure. They're definitely a top 3 team.
And you're going to have to come out and play a good, solid ball game to win that one too.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see how far your team has come. They had all the preseason accolades and maybe humbled a little bit in a good way.
Yeah, but they didn't go there. They've been humble. That didn't have anything to do with our preparation or our lack of anything, because we preach it all the time. So they don't have the big head in it. It's just one of those things that, we played some really good teams, weren't at full strength, and didn't make big plays.
And you're getting closer to be at full strength. Hopefully Matthew Zobers will have recovered by then, sometime next week. It's kind of a day-to-day thing, and we'll just wait and see how that turns out.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you'll get a pretty good effort out of these kids.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Kind of fun to coach, man.
It's going to be a war. Oh, it always is.
Two games against your 2 toughest Mid-Atlantic to start the conference season off. It's going to be.
We're ready though.
Oh, I'm sure you are. It's going to be a lot of fun. But it's fun coaching these kids, isn't
It's a
it?
blast.
You know, every day and you have 6'9", 6'9", and that's got to be
Well, 6'8", 6'8".
6'8", and 6'8".
You know what is kind of funny is you look at the rosters, all these teams at the TOC. There was only one team that I saw that truly had the correct heights, and that is us. I measured myself on height and on how much they weighed, and when you look at our kids, they really are 6'8", whatever it is, or 6'5" and 205. But our kids are ready to play some outside competition and get into Mid-Illini, and I think they'll do fine.
Well, Coach, congratulations on it. You got off to a good start, and good luck. As the conference season gets started, because this is going to be one whale of a journey. It always is.
It's going to be a crazy one.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be wilder than the 12 previous. With what's at stake, everybody's taking their best shot at us. That's truth, which is great. You don't want it any other way. Mm-hmm. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best while they're playing their best, and that's what we're trying.
Yeah, because you've got a target on your back now. You're not going to be sneaking up on anybody. You're the one that everybody is penciled on their highlight. Date. They've circled the date. Both Mid-Illini, there's 2 chances that they have at you, and they've all circled those dates, and it's kind of become a little bit of a tradition for Metamora to go out and kind of ruin those days with your opponents, and that's
kind of nice because when I got here a long time ago, that wasn't the case.
You didn't anticipate those, but you do now, and it's anticipated, and there's a lot of expectations, and that's kind of the way you want it, isn't it?
No doubt. All great programs have that.
Sure.
If you don't have that, then you're not doing it right.
Coach, good luck this coming week, and bring home some W's.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
That'll do it for the Danny Grieves Show. We'll see you Tuesday night at home